Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the Melbourne preview. And we're back on the screen. I had a few podcasts. I wasn't feeling the greatest throughout the week. Still just going okay. But I thought I was probably reasonable enough to scrub myself up and get on the cam again. So we're going to take a look at the Ds over the next 8 to 10 minutes. And I'm going to start with the lock. And I think Clayton Oliver is the lock for me. And that might come to a surprise to some. I think there'll be some people who debate Max Gawn, but I really need to get a new little mount here. But I've gone Oliver, 593k. I really think he offers a little bit of value because late last year, or for most of the second half, and even more than that, he really got going. It was mainly the start that was tricky. The Ds had a shocker start to the season, and he was sort of in on that to a lesser extent. He just wasn't at his absolute best. First 7 games averaged 100.4, and then the last 15, 113.5, which is what we've become more accustomed to from Oliver. And I think given that, it gave him a total average of 109.4. I think it just sees him slightly underpriced. He's under 600k. I'd be more than happy to sort of pay about that 600k mark for him, and he's just under, so I'm pretty happy paying that. Max Gawn at 697k could have easily come into this category as well. But look, it'd be a bit contradictory because he's not actually in my side at the moment. So I have gone for the mid-price English at the minute, which might prove controversial. But we'll see how we go. And I found it difficult to find a risk at the Ds. Not that there isn't any, but just in terms of a SuperCoach relevant one. And I've gone Cade Kolajasny. I think at 207k, if he starts to go any good in the pre-season, or even is just playing and looking like snatching a spot in the best 22, all of a sudden he'll be in the discussion. And it seems like a lifetime ago since 2015 where he averaged 89.4. And we were talking about him being, a premium for years in our back line, a good halfback flank rebounding type. And unfortunately, the concussion and head knocks has really just forced him out of the game for a lot of the time. I mean, 2 games last year, 8 games the year before. It's really sad. So obviously he'll just be hoping to get back to some consistent football and hopefully find a career at the Ds. But I think if he does get going a little bit, it'll be hard for us in SuperCoach land to not even have a little think about him. So clearly there's a lot of risk involved there. And I don't think he'll be a guy that we'll really consider until there's something to talk about. He'll have to show us something. But he was the guy that I took in the risk column at the Ds. And the breakout contender was probably no surprises here. Christian Petrarca. Now, what is this, the 3rd year I've gone Petrarca for a breakout year? Probably. And I'm not going to harp on because you guys know that I love him. But he's bloody frustrating. And you talk about a breakout window type or someone who has all the elements and all the ingredients to suggest they'll break out. Listen to this, 24 years old, 85 games, and his season since his debut in 2016 averages 72.7, 78.8, 81.5, 81.3. And this is from a bloke who was outstanding in his underage years and was thought about as a real bustling inside mid capable of going forward. Now, he's 186 centimetres, more than 90 kegs, so he's definitely got the build for it. But more often than not, we've seen him be that forward type, sort of De Goey style, but without the impact. He's at 441k, and again, it all depends, can he squeeze himself into the midfield or find some more midfield time? I think, we see the likes of a Heaney or a Dustin Martin. We probably want to see those types of numbers. I mean, he's not going to come out and be Dustin Martin, but perhaps more of those percentages where they play a bit more mid-time than forward time, where Petrarca seems to be the guy that the Ds like to have as a one-on-one deep and sort of a hit-up type because he is good in that area. But I really do think we'll see his best football through the middle. So there's a fair few midfielders at the Ds. Will he be able to break into it? That's probably the question. But, I mean, I'm a massive fan. I have been for a long time. I think the day will definitely come where we talk about Petrarca as one of the best scorers. I think he'll be able to push 3 figures at some stage in his career, but you'd be pretty brave to go with him this year, that's for sure. He's not even dual position. He's just pure forward, so you'd be brave. But and in the no chance category is Angus Brayshaw. Now, I think he is definitely a good chance to find some scoring potential far more closer to his 2018 stuff, where he averaged 97.1. And we all know that run in the Brownlow that he went on, just flying home. Rounds 15 to 23 averaged 100.8. And he's priced at $452K this year after averaging 83.3. But he's just a midfielder, and that is as awkward as a price range as you'll ever see. I think he's one of the best candidates in terms of a guy who can boost his average by more than 20 points. I don't know if he'll break through 100, but I mean, he's got the potential to. But I think he'll definitely lift his average anywhere from probably 12 to 16 points for sure. And last year was just a bit of a strange one. You know, he was moved around. He was taken out of the centre stoppage at times, you know, thrown all over the joint, seemingly as the D's tried things as their season spiraled out of control. Now, he definitely had a really tough year. So I am backing him in to bounce back, but I wouldn't ever think about picking him because he's just a mid and it's super awkward. He's on the pricier side of a mid-pricer, and really, we're going to need some great footy from him and great footy early on. You know, you pick a guy like that in your midfield, they'd want to start the season bloody well, or then the pressure mounts, and he might average high 90s or something like that, but if his form comes in the second half of the season, well, we've probably turfed him by then. So just a lot of pressure when you make a selection like that. Not only do they have to be good selection, but they've probably got to do it in the first 4 to 6 weeks, or we get nervous and get rid of them. So something to think about as well. But that's all I've got for Melbourne. I think they're a very interesting side this year. I think all the talk is, can they find that, you know, their best form again in the footy that saw them go into the finals and knock off the Cats in that elimination. And I think they'll be back towards their better footy, but it's really tough to gauge them. Personally, all I've got is Oliver at the minute. Off the top of my head, I think there's a couple of rookies in there too, but it'll be very, very interesting to see how it all pans out. But I'll be back soon. I'll have North Melbourne up next. Hopefully you can catch me then. Cheers.